It's time to hammer.
Now I gotta really try hard.
Shut it down!
Somehow it's the best.
YumChunks podcast.
YumChunks!
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to After the Credits, a YumChunks podcast. I'm Sean Davis, and with me is Ryan Davis.
Hello.
And Chris Schmidt.
That's me.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and listening. Tonight we're going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp. Unfortunately, Chewie is not here with us. He's on a honeymoon.
He's married.
He's married now, and Vince is not here with us because he's dead to us, basically.
Yeah. He's also married, though.
He's also married.
But he's not on
He's
honeymoon.
married with children.
All true facts. These are things, you could look this up, folks. We don't make this stuff up. We're going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp, but a lot has happened. So much has happened since our last episode. Matt is now a married man. He is taken. All you single ladies.
All you single ladies.
Don't you dare.
And we're going to get sued now, Chris. Thanks a lot.
It was under 3 seconds. We're okay.
Hey, I saw you dancing to that at the wedding. After I was like, as soon as it went on, I was like, Sean is gonna be so pissed. But then I turned around and you were sitting there dancing.
I was
to
upset, but the tune is catchy. It's hard not to dance to that, especially if you've had some margaritas.
I'm surprised we weren't on the dance floor when they played "Shake It Off." Like I
was heard
looking
it
around for everyone, but I was like the opposite end.
Yeah,
I did see a bunch of like those high school kids that were at the wedding. Just go, they came off from off screen. Essentially, it was just like
a bunch of high school kids crashed Matt's wedding. By the way,
that's true.
They were playing it while we were getting drinks or playing by the arcade machine. But anyways, it was a good wedding. It was fun. They are married, so success. And there was good food. Those fish tacos were delicious, and I don't like seafood or fish tacos, and they were delicious.
I didn't have any.
What?
Why not?
What's your problem?
Because this got grist stuff on it.
Like what?
What do you mean by gross?
That like cream salsa. I won't be a part of that.
You don't even know what it is.
Exactly. I won't be a part of that.
So we just eat rice and beans the whole time?
All right. Also, Chris will not be with us on this episode.
And I didn't have any alcohol for obvious
Did you at least have cake?
For obvious reasons.
No, I did not have cake.
What about a cupcake?
You got a tray
of a cupcake.
All you got was a tray of candy. That was
The cupcakes were pretty good.
Yeah, the cupcakes were good, actually. I like those.
I did like those cupcakes.
It was very hot, though, too, so that was also...
There were
sweating.
A lot of bugs
as members of the bridal party in tuxedos all day.
Yeah, that's right. Me and Sean were part of the wedding party, and we had to sit in hot suits.
We had to give away Chewie.
Yeah. Sean, you got them married. You did that.
I
married
tell
them.
Our
viewers that you married them.
I said, you're man and wife, or you're husband and wife, and I said some words, and I gave them rings.
Kay really liked it. She was actually tearing up during Jess's speech.
Oh,
I laughed at her.
That felt good.
Actually, it's funny. I made a comment to Jess about that too. Like when people were cheering, I'm like, "Why were people crying?"
And then,
what is the matter with people?
That had to be the nerdiest wedding, or one of the nerdiest weddings. Just so many freaking Shrek references.
Oh yeah,
I'm actually surprised it wasn't more nerdy. If I'm going to be honest,
they could have gone further with
it. It could have been the nerdiest because Sean was originally going to have me throw the football at Chewie in the middle of the session.
Yeah, I'm disappointed you didn't do that.
But I had to tell you no, despite
I would have done it.
Was there a secret hand signal like during the ceremony?
That's what I was asking.
Like, the go?
That was the last question I asked him. I was like, "What's the go?" Because I'm going to do this unless you're joking right now.
The go is Chris, throw the football at him now. In the middle of the service.
And then I specifically asked him, "How hard do you want it to?" I can rocket it in there or I can lob it. What do you want?
Well, next time. Someone else's wedding. So when you...
Trevor's wedding.
That's true. Right. When Trevor and Becky get married, I won't be in charge of it, though. So you'll have to kind of go on your own.
All right.
Wait, they didn't ask you to marry them? I thought you were a friend group's universal marrier.
I marry everyone now, folks. If you need to get married, just give me a holla.
You can marry Ryan and me right now.
Yeah, it's true. Power. I have... Well... Yeah. You need a
No,
marriage.
you need a witness.
You need a marriage license and a witness.
Well, everyone on this podcast can witness it. Does that have to be live?
Yeah, does that have to be
I don't know how
live?
that works.
We still don't have a marriage license. Well, we just make one up, right? What did they do in the olden days?
Exactly.
They just drew on stone or something? I don't know. Anyway, so that happened. But aside from that, there are other things. Ryan participated in a Final Fantasy trading card game tournament, and he got
I didn't do that good.
top place.
I did.
Yeah, a card game we all play, or most of us, couple of us play and enjoy.
Yeah,
there were regional tournaments a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, what's cool is that even though I didn't do fantastically, it was cool because the gaming community are all actually really just cool people. Like no one is like jerks to each other, even when you lose or win or whatever. And like I actually made Facebook friends, and people were really like reaching out to do that community kind of stuff. So that was worth it, if nothing else.
Yeah, when we went to that pre-release, you were like, "Oh my god, I haven't seen you guys in a week."
I know it's kind of weird how
friends.
it was just a week ago, but yeah, it was kind of
Well, and so then last week there was a pre-release little mini kind of that was around the country, really. But we participated because there's a new version, the new edition of the cards are coming out. So that was fun until I lost and I went on tilt and never want to play that game again.
Until next weekend.
Until next weekend.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I did not. Even though I did technically better at the pre-release, I had definitely a worse time. I don't know exactly why, but whatever.
Yeah.
Also, a little shout out to Mario and Paul. You guys can suck it.
Our two loyal fans, who only ones who listen to this,
Yeah.
and we just insult them.
Yep.
Straight up. Well, did anyone watch anything other than the movie that we're going to talk about? I watched Skyscraper last night.
That's out?
Oh, no.
That came out today, or this
Oh,
week.
no.
Also, by the way, it's Friday the 13th,
Yeah,
everyone. So
that's right.
if you never see us again, or some crazy horrible accident occurs on air, you'll have witnessed it. If then somehow they get uploaded.
If you're at a lake, do not go swimming. Do not have sex. Do not do drugs. Do not...
If you're at a lake.
If you're
not at a lake, feel free
Do
to do
all the
all
drugs
this
you
stuff.
want.
Yeah.
If you enter a room, turn on the light.
I mean, these things like just
If
normal
you
common
fall,
sense
if
things.
you fall down, get up and run.
But if it was tomorrow, if you fall down, don't. Stay
Walk
down.
into a room, keep the lights off. You'll just there's no reason to see things. So that's kind of fun. The podcast, the spooky.
I don't know about shows. I've been working my way through Persona 5.
Mm.
I'm really liking that game. I like the visual style of it.
I played a little bit of it. I definitely mean to play it through it at some point, but just the style and just like the just awesome visual aesthetic and just like kind of in your face vibe of it.
So I was thinking about this recently, and as much as I like games that go realistic and they look really good and things like that, it's just I go back and I'm just, that's cool and all, but I know that everybody can do that now. And so when you get things with a little bit more artistic flair to them, like somebody going outside the norm a bit. I mean, obviously it's just an anime art style overall, but just like anybody that's played Persona 5 knows it has like a very specific flair to it with the effects and everything. Yeah. The UI is amazing in this game. Yeah. I really like that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of true, though, just if you look back at gaming kind of throughout the decades, the stuff that visually stands out and kind of stands the test of time is the stuff that wasn't always going for the most realistic. Mm-hmm. Because, like, if you think back, like, the early 90s and when they first started doing motion capture and, like, live, video in games, how bad it looks now. Or when they started trying to do realistic polygon characters and stuff, like, the PlayStation 1 era Final Fantasies and stuff, like that game still stands up in a lot of ways, visually not as much as some of the games that went with a more artistic, kind of a more stylized art.
I mean, I guess a perfect example of that is, let's think back to the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era. The most visually appeasing game of that era that still stands today is Wind Waker.
I was going to say, Wind Waker stands up.
Because it broke away from the norm.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
I'm going to do cel shaded.
So there's a certain definitely style to that, and when they recognize that, it makes, it definitely makes those feel more timeless. So Persona 5, for sure.
That being said, Detroit still looks amazing, though.
I've been watching some more Games Done Quick too. I know that last week was the end of it, but there are some fun ones. I watched Kingdom Hearts 1 and they beat it in 5 hours, and they beat it on proud mode with 0 XP things, so they were level 1 the entire game, and they beat it in 5. It's pretty crazy. It was ridiculous.
Were 4.5 of those hours in the final fight because you would do such little damage.
No, the way it's fun listening to them, less for their banter, because most of them aren't that charismatic. Some are pretty funny and they're fine, but because they explain a lot of the systems that take place, stuff that you would never know as a casual gamer or whatever, or just even a normal gamer, a hardcore gamer, unless you really spent. So with Kingdom Hearts, they have these systems in place where there's a minimum amount of damage you will do to all bosses, even at level 1. On normal enemies, in a lot of places, the normal enemies were a lot harder because they didn't have that minimum damage they would do. So they would have to figure out all these ways using summons and all these other things.
I wonder if it's also vice versa then, that there's a maximum amount of damage.
That you can receive?
So there's another mechanic is they will. As long as you have full health, you can never be one-shotted.
Except by Sephiroth.
Nope, you can't be one-shotted by Sephiroth either, even at level 1, because they had the Sephiroth fight. That was a bonus objective. You know how the stretch goals, it's a donation thing, and one of them, if they reached whatever $60,000, they fought Sephiroth, and they reached it, so they fought Sephiroth at level 1 with 3 magic points and no health, all that stuff, and he beat him, and he could take they could get through Sephiroth, you could take 2 shots. So you can never be one-shotted if you're at level 1, no matter what. But even if you have just 1 less than max HP, you could be one-shotted. So you always have to be basically at full life.
Health.
Yeah. So you have to rely on Donald or whatever healing you a lot and making sure you manage your magic points. And there's lots of other things into it. I mean, Kingdom Hearts was interesting, but it's kind of true for a lot of the games when you kind of watch these and you figure out these things that you would never know. I watched Final Fantasy VI as well, a 6-hour 100% speedrun where they collect all the characters and espers and do all that, again, 6 hours, and it's all about manipulating, every battle they knew exactly what was going to happen. They knew exactly what attack, what ability, what thing would do, exact how much turns it would take to beat this guy and stuff.
With the fast run?
The fast run?
Yeah, where you can run.
Yeah. I mean, they got the sprint shoes or the running shoes, so they have that and all that stuff. Anyways, it's just kind of fascinating, fun to kind of watch that. But anyways, anyone else have things?
I'll get my Oculus hooked back up, so I've been enjoying the heck out of that. Just freaking love VR. Chris, you're a man that works in VR, but I'm a man that lives in VR.
It's true. Has there been anything new that you've been playing?
Yeah, I got just a little flight simulator kind of game. Actually, really what I've been doing is I've been downloading some little, I don't know what you want to call them, movies, but they're little 5-minute little things that someone just put together. It's like a VR movie. And you just kind of sit there and watch it, but it's sort of interactive, but not really. And just a lot of people are just putting these together for some reason. I don't really know. So I've been checking those out, and that's pretty fun. So yeah, beyond the games.
Have you played Beat Saber?
No, I was gonna pick that up.
Like a rhythm game where you
where you have the lightsabers.
Yeah.
I want to get that and the other, Super Hot. I think is the other one.
Oh, Super Hot! I heard is really fun.
That's
it's not just VR though. That's a normal
game too.
Yeah. But it pauses unless you move.
Yeah, but every time I hear people talking about I was sweating after 10 minutes. But anyway, so so I've been playing that. Been good times.
Nice.
Cool. All right, well, let's get into Ant-Man and the Wasp.
The Wasp.
So here on out, spoilers, talking about the plots and the stories and things that are gonna give away stuff if you haven't seen it.
Ant-Man dies.
Oh, good thing it was right after the spoiler warning. Yeah. So it's their fault.
Also, it all takes place in the Unbreakable universe.
I'm trying to think of why you said that. Who is someone in there?
I have no idea why you said that, but
is a character from Unbreakable in Ant-Man and the Wasp?
No,
it just does. Lie. Okay. Well, I know. Well, obviously it's a complete lie, but I figured your mind had some reasoning for saying it.
No.
All right.
Samuel L. Jackson exists in that universe. Bam! Brought it back.
Yep. Good job.
He is Mr. Glass, actually.
Oh, I thought you were going with Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh,
No. I was gonna make a joke, but then you were thinking that the whole
I was
time.
like, what characters from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt are in Ant-Man and the Wasp?
You know, Tim Heidecker was in
That is
both
true.
the first Ant-Man and this Ant-Man, actually.
Was he? Who was he in the first Ant-Man?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Maybe
Just
he
remember
plays the same
was there.
character. Is he the same
No,
character?
he's a different character.
He's like Stan Lee then.
Yeah.
Or is Stan Lee the same character?
He was the boat captain in this one.
I remember
the
that,
guy on the
but-
boat.
I remember he was in Fantastic Four, and he was in that awful movie.
Oh yeah, he played like the
The
dad,
father
right?
of the Thing, whatever they
It's
Yeah.
just so weird seeing him in like a quote unquote serious role. Like,
Which is, it's actually funny because it's funny to see him in that role, but because of Master of None, I'm actually kind of used to seeing Eric Wareheim in
In a
kind of a
normal-
normalish role.
But Eric
now.
Wareheim doesn't play a normal character as well as Tim Heidecker.
yeah, Eric Wareheim is still kind of Eric Wareheim.
Yeah. Well, anyways, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Would you guys like it or not like it? Or maybe some of both?
I liked it.
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it.
Well,
End of
thanks for
episode,
tuning in,
folks.
everybody. You heard it here first.
Da-da-da-da.
No, I mean, there's a lot of things I could say I like about it. It's non-offensive, right?
That's what I like most
yes.
about it. It didn't offend
Yes,
me.
I agree.
I mean, it's not bad. It's an enjoyable romp, right? It's not bad, like in the sense that like Iron Man 2 is bad, like where you're watching and you're like, is this freaking done yet? Right? Like, I don't know, but at the same time, you're watching it and you're like, this isn't great either.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, I kind of felt, even though I had it was a good summer movie, right? A good way to kind of get me cap off the summer or something. Just like, yeah, don't think too hard about this movie, everybody. Just have a good old time, and you do. But I feel like I'm gonna forget about this movie. Like, I feel like it's not gonna have a lot of staying power for me.
Oh, absolutely not. This
Like,
is supposed to just be like a fun little bite our time type thing, right?
Yeah, and it
because
was.
at the end of the day, only the post credits scene even matters. To
Well,
the grand
I mean,
whole thing.
you're right in terms of the greater scheme of things, but is that the only thing we're judging these movies by now anymore? Is
How
how
does it
they
prolong the lineage,
Yeah.
the legacy?
But that being said, yeah, I agree. It's kind of like the palate cleanser after
Yeah.
Infinity War, where it's like, okay, we had to do all this stuff, but remember, it's just comic book fun. Here you go, eat this, cheeseburger. It's fun to eat.
I would say it's more like just a barrel of popcorn.
Yeah, okay, bro.
There's not a lot of substance. Whereas cheeseburger, at least there's some protein.
Yeah, that's true. There's something there.
I mean, so things I liked. I was thinking about this earlier. I do think Ant-Man has the best soundtracks of any of the Marvel movies. The only thing that would rival it, I think, is the Black Panther soundtrack. I think I know the Ant-Man theme from the first one. Like, it's something I can actually hum. Like, it's something that I know.
I'm not disagreeing.
just, like,
I just
listening-
don't know the music off.
Just
I can't remember.
listening to it, it's something I can listen to the album and have a good time, where a lot of the other ones they fall more into like that tonnage.
I mean, it
type
depends
stuff.
what you mean by. Do you mean score or soundtrack? Because if I were to say soundtrack, I would say Guardians of the Galaxy is a more memorable
All right,
soundtrack.
well, let's go with score then.
You know what I'm? No, but there's a difference, right?
I
You
know
know what I'm
I
saying?
know.
Like, if it's the original music and like the music of the film, then yeah, sure. But I don't know if the soundtrack is necessarily.
Well, I mean, Ant-Man technically doesn't have a soundtrack then
Okay.
because it doesn't use
Well,
any
they had-
licensed music.
that does. They had
I'm
some
sure there
license
was
I
one.
don't
music.
remember there really being
They
licensed.
were-
Yeah, I remember the credits. There were some.
That's
Yeah.
Regardless, though, I'm not saying that you're not right. I just don't remember the music from it.
Anyways, I like the music.
Okay.
I actually like the villain, the way they approach the villain. The movie.
mixed
No. Hold on. Hear me out. Not so much so in the way that it's acted or anything like that, but I like that they went a different route with the villain than is their norm, right? Because they kind of went a very comic booky continuation route where now Ghost is set up to potentially could have like its little shield Suicide Squad-ish type setup, right? Like it's something where like it could be working to redeem herself.
Yeah.
Like it's
I see
not
what you're
just a
saying.
throwaway villain. Never going to see
that
this
story's
person
over. That
again.
story's
I
over.
do-
It's a new villain every flavor of the month or whatever.
Yeah, I do like that she might continue on being a character. But you did touch on what I think is the weakest part of the film for me, and that is that just the conflict was not... There was no conflict. Like,
No, I mean...
Yeah.
And
I think that's centered around...
Wallace Goggins, or whatever his name is, Wally Goggins, whatever
Yeah, well, that's what you said. When you first said, I liked the villain, I almost thought, like, wait a second, what do you mean by that?
Right.
Because it's not even clear who the villain is.
Yeah.
Right.
Who would you say is the villain?
So yeah, I didn't like that side of it.
Yeah.
But I did like the ghost Lawrence Fishburne side of it, right? Like, because I also, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when she's trying to take it so far, but Lawrence Fishburne just puts his foot down, right? Like, he's like, if you do this, I'm gone. Right,
Yeah.
And what I think what really made that stand out to me is, like, in most other movies, when someone does that, they get pressured back and then they fold, right? And you see their character kind of unravel. But Lawrence Fishburne's character has stayed true to that line throughout the entire movie.
Oh yeah, well, I love the dynamic between Lawrence Fishburne and Ghost for what it was. On its own, I agree, it was great. I just don't know if it. To me, it was kind of part of a bigger issue with the film in general, is that I didn't feel like there was, like you were saying, Ryan. There wasn't a great sense of conflict, and more so the stakes didn't seem that important.
The conflict is super minor, right? The stakes may not seem important. I think they actually kind of are, but the conflict,
later on, the
conflict
ramifications
itself is super minor, right? Because it's like everybody's trying to grab this for their own purposes, but none of those purposes cross one another, right? If Ghost wants to heal herself, Goggins, what's his face, Southern drawl guy wants to sell it, and they just want to use it to get Janet back, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it starts from. Like, that's why I mean the central conflict originates from our protagonist's point of view, as they just want to revive their gone mother. Which, that's a very personal story and it can be great, but it just also it kind of paled in what you might think of a big super movie for the stakes to be. Like, and I agree that,
especially following up Avengers.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of unfair to judge it by that standard. So I'm trying not to judge by that, because you're right. That there's no way it's going to live up to that. But I do think, like, even compared to the first Ant-Man, I felt like the stakes were bigger than they were in this one. Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be world-ending scenario or anything like that. I agree. So I do appreciate the originality, especially with the Ghost and Lawrence Fishburne stuff. But to me, it felt a little unfocused in terms of, like, what.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many small conflicts, right? Because there's the conflict of him trying to help them get Janet back, but not getting caught himself.
Yeah, which is good.
There's them trying to get Janet back, and then there's a bunch of really small conflicts all revolving around each other.
But I feel like those small conflicts often, I find that film with those smaller conflicts work well when they're revolving around something larger, maybe. Yeah. But there didn't seem to be that larger thing.
Right, yeah. I mean, I do appreciate that they didn't have to make this into some world-ending scenario. Yeah, because, like, every movie we watch, well, not every movie, but every superhero movie, every video game has to be some, like, cataclysmic end-of-the-world scenario where it's, like, it was kind of refreshing that this was a personal story. Just before, the opening credits even come up, they tell the viewer, hey, this is what we're doing. We're saving Wasp, old Wasp.
Old Wasp.
Janet Van Dyne.
Michelle Pfeiffer. Which, by the way, Michelle Pfeiffer now in both DC and Marvel
universes. I was going to say, I feel like in a certain level it's like Harry Potter, where they're just bringing, all the British actors are in the Harry Potter universe that exists. All actors are now part of the Marvel universe that exists. American actors, by the way. And British actors, too. But.
Yeah. One thing I don't like about what they've done with Ant-Man, not just in this, but in general, is his biggest weakness is his own power. Like, his biggest weakness, what always breaks him down in fights, is he goes Giant Man, and then he faints. Giant Man, and then he faints. Giant Man, and then he faints.
I don't think he went Giant.
No, not in that one, but like in Civil War, that was what essentially took him down.
And I actually thought it was really fun how they incorporated that, because most of these Marvel films, when they reference other films, very little of it is dependent, or you don't have to know that stuff for these films. And you don't have to in this one, but I like that there was some relationship stuff that happened as a result of Civil War that is only alluded to. And so it's like building these characters and relationships by kind of showing their past experiences and past relationships without having to reiterate it or have, expository, just boring dialogue. You can pick up on that stuff and realize, oh, there was actual stuff that happened even though we weren't seeing every second of it.
Right. I like how they did that. And actually the part of what they did with the exposition, I thought, was bringing back probably one of the best scenes from the first one, and that is Michael Pena.
Yeah,
it's like narrating, but doing it with the weird, funny style. And that was the best part of the movie for me. It was just freaking so funny.
Michael Pena on truth serum.
Yeah, that was.
I did like it. So it's truth serum. It's not truth serum.
There's no such thing as truth serum.
Like, I was... All those parts were funny, but at the same time, I was like, why does he want it to be truth serum? Why does he care?
Yeah.
Why can't he just say it's truth serum?
Because he's a professional.
Yeah, they should have...
Because they allude to him having spent a lot of time perfecting it.
I suppose.
And
but
so
who
for them to trivialize it so much is like...
How's it trivializing?
But if they're insulting,
cool.
they're insulting
Why
his
is that
profession.
making something trivial when you say it's truth serum? That sounds awesome. I don't want my stuff to be truth serum. Regardless, anyways. I will say, though, like, I think a lot of the time throughout the film, I was kind of building up, like, a lot of it was building up and building up and building up. And to a certain extent, I never felt like the bass dropped, if that makes any sense, right? Like, a song is building, it's building, it's building. I know it's finally going to be the moment where, like, Ant-Man's being Ant-Man, and it's perfect, and it's cathartic, and I'm really... And that never really happens. Like, if you think of, like, moments in other superhero films or other, like... That moment when in Infinity War when Thor grabs his hammer and he warps through and you're like, yes!
That's the moment.
Or like in Guardians of the Galaxy when like Peter figures out what he is and he punches his father. Or, you know, like there's these moments. Or like even like the DC stuff when Batman and Superman are fighting, as flawed as that film and as criticism of that scene, there's moments in that fight scene where you're like, yes, this is what I want, right? And I felt like there was a little bit of... the Martha, exactly. That's what I was referring to. You got it. I felt like there was some of that wasn't quite there. There was a little bit of it. In the final chase scene, there was the fun hijinksy kind of stuff.
I was going to say, the closest I feel like they came to it in your mind would be that final fight, right, as Janet's coming out, right?
Yeah.
And it's both Wasp and Ant-Man kind of holding off Ghost.
A little bit.
Guess, but
it doesn't really
fight. That was just that was a reprise of a previous battle.
Yeah.
It wasn't...
Well, I mean, it's also interesting because if you think about it, when they fight Ghost multiple times through the movie, they usually actually end up with the upper hand, right? Like,
except
it's
in
not
the
like
first fight, I suppose.
Well, that's because she eventually just ditches that fight too, right?
True.
She does run away, essentially. But
yeah, I mean, going back to that, like this, like the conflict being so weak, and like Ghost chooses that moment to introduce herself and steal that computer chip thing. Why does she need that computer chip thing? Like, how does
she does need that for her goals.
Yeah, but she needs it, but then she ends up stealing the lab. Why didn't she just let them
get both?
Yeah, so why didn't she just steal the lab after they had already gotten the chip in the lab?
Oh.
See, and also, if Lawrence Fishburne, he's gonna, like, steal the lab or whatever, why does he knows Hank Pym's not an evil man and that he would be, one, interested in helping. Yeah. Two, wait a minute, you have a person in your custody or whatever who has a connection to the quantum realm. Yeah. Hey, maybe that can help me. Why doesn't Lawrence Fishburne just shoot him an email? Hey, buddy. And instead of us stealing your stuff, and then even when they get kidnapped and they expositorially explain, here's why we did this. Why wouldn't they all go through and go, that's all you want to do? Shoot, we'll help you. Why is there a conflict in this movie at all?
Well, at first, it's because Lawrence Fishburne's character and Hank Pym's character do not like each other at all.
Yeah, they say that they don't, but at the same time, it felt like less like actual hatred and more like a kind of rivalry. But they were still actually kind of friendly. You know, they had a falling out, but I mean, they're freaking in the office and he's joking with, Scott and stuff. Like, he doesn't really hate him that much if that's happening. I mean, I don't know.
It was just really...
It was very...
It was not.
Well, okay, so there is... I mean, to support your thing, there is the bad line where they do actually ask him for help, right? And Hank Pym's just like, nah, not interested. All I want to do is save Janet.
No, he said, like, I gotta save Janet first, but after that I will help you. He didn't say no. He said yes, but I'm gonna save Janet first. But if Lawrence Fishburne had contacted him earlier, they would have had plenty of time to do both.
No. When they first capture him, or capture them, I believe he doesn't flat out, but he alludes like, hey, just help me, and we can move on from this. And he's just like, no, all I care about is my one goal right now.
I mean, I don't remember the specific dialogue. Maybe, I think it might be... You mean like when they have them kidnapped and they're tied to the chairs and stuff
Yeah.
like that? Yeah, maybe.
Before they
I don't
lose
know.
the Altoid ants, the
Yeah.
Altoid ants, they would have had to wash that because I'm pretty sure that smell would have killed all those ants. It's a strong smell. The peppermint ants hate strong smells.
Well,
Oh, okay.
we all learned something today.
But they might also like strong smells.
No,
No, right.
Speaking of wasps, I watched this YouTube video about how wasps are like the worst jerks in the animal universe, and they just
It
totally ravage all their prey. Anyway, we'll talk about that more later in the Wasp podcast.
back to that post-credit scene, I guess. So, when I saw Infinity War, the one thing that I wanted from Ant-Man was actually for Scott and potentially the Wasp to disappear. That's what I wanted. So Hank Pym would have a chance to shine.
Oh.
I was kind of let down by the fact that it went the obvious route and got rid of everybody except for Ant-Man.
I mean, I don't think they were really gonna. I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't have potentially killed Ant-Man and stuff, but I don't think they were gonna have Hank Pym go be this.
Part of this is
savior.
because
Yeah.
Hank Pym is actually probably my favorite Marvel character.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah, okay,
I'm
but
obsessed
he's
with
not
him.
that important in the MC. I mean, I
Yes,
actually
he
did
is.
like him in this film.
He's an original Avengers. He is absolutely important.
I mean,
I'm
he
saying
was-
in the MCU, he's
Yeah.
not as important. I actually did like his character. I thought his character and a lot of the character dynamics were really good. That was some of the best parts of the film, was just the growth and the characters in general, and you kind of get to know a little bit more in depth of their relationships and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna have Michael Douglas be like some hero savior.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I don't. I was surprised that they killed off Wasp, I suppose. Maybe not surprised, but it's like, oh, okay. It would have been fun if, they were both around, or maybe they just killed off Ant-Man and the Wasp was left. Regardless, what particle is called the healing particle?
I know. Get those healing particles from the quantum realm. What? What
the
do you
technical
mean?
term?
But
And I
also,
love how they were just like, "Hey, while you're in there, don't get tied up and don't fall into the time vortex." What?
but so I'm now 98% sure that Ant-Man is going to have access to whatever's happening in the Soul Stone. I bet you that's his connection.
Well, I think this is our prediction. Or I don't know if we talked about this in the podcast, but that right, Ant-Man's going to go back in time and fix everything.
I don't know about time. I think he'll use the
Maybe.
quantum realm because it's connected to
I do
everything
think it's
at
the
once.
quantum realm. Well, I did. It posed a question. Do you think he was immune to Thanos? Like, let's say that everyone has a 1 or a 0 over their head, imagining 1, and everyone with the 1 killed when Thanos snapped his fingers. Do you think Ant-Man had a 1 over his head, but he just was not, affected by it because he was in the quantum realm? Or do you think he was actually saved because he just happened to not be one of the other?
I think it just didn't happen to
Oh,
me.
really? I kind of thought like, it'd be interesting if he's in the quantum realm, and if you're in the quantum realm, you're basically outside the time and space that Thanos has.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
that's an interesting question, but I guess what is it?
Yeah,
Like-
well, because I think to me it speaks more to like the quantum realm having some sort of greater significance than just it being Ant-Man. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did
Well,
you guys...
Michelle Pfeiffer got superpowers while she was in
Yeah.
there, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That just solved everybody's problems.
I know, right? It's like, maybe that was the healing part.
I was just
Quantum
about
yeah.
to. I
Well,
was
they
just
did
about
say
to
for
kill you
ghosts.
for
Yeah.
these.
They did
So,
say here are the
yeah,
healing
no.
particles for
our
ghosts.
our new ghost friend. Yeah.
But did you guys watch the How It Should Have Ended for Infinity War?
I don't think so.
They it's actually kind of funny how they set up. So they have like Doctor Strange doing his like future time
Yeah.
thing, and then he's like, they're like, how many futures do we win? And they're like 5, which alludes to we have 5 jokes to tell you about how
Oh,
it should have
okay.
ended. One of which, or a couple of them, were actually like pretty good overall. It's just like, but I think the funniest one was in the Battle of Wakanda. It's just like Wong shows up and he just tosses all the bad guys into the mirror, that mirror realm.
From
He's like,
Strange, yeah.
problem solved. And moving on.
Well, this is getting off of Ant-Man, but because they had the post-credit scene, we can legally talk about it
Yeah.
in our discussion. It is kind of curious. How do you market the next Infinity War? How do you market the next Avengers film?
What do you mean?
Like, are you going to have commercials and advertisements with none of the characters who died in it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question without tipping their hand and giving it away.
Yeah, like that means you're not going to have Spider-Man in any of the credits or any of the commercials for the new Avengers. You're not going to have any of the Guardians for any of the commercials. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
hey,
and if they do,
Rocket
you're just
is
giving
alive.
away. Well, okay, they'll have but like any of the side characters from Ant-Man, any Doctor Strange is like, right? How do you present that? Not only that, but how do you present like an advertisement for a film that's supposed to be fun and exciting? And
well, okay, so
with
first of
half
all,
the universe dead?
First of all, let's imagine. So this movie is less than a year away, right?
Yeah, next May, I think, or whatever.
Okay, so they actually do not have very long for marketing on it,
Yeah,
as it
they
is.
don't.
I imagine there'll probably be maybe something. No, actually, I doubt there'll actually be anything at Comic-Con. I think
I don't think so.
I think Comic-Con's going to be all focused on Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it'll be Captain Marvel.
So I think the marketing for this is going to come in late.
Sure.
On purpose.
Okay.
And then, they'll just won't focus. They'll keep the focus away.
I don't know. I just think it's a tall order. Like, if you think
because
about
you
it,
can't not market this movie. You don't market.
I'm not saying they don't market it. I'm not saying they're not going to. I'm saying, how do you market it? From a marketing perspective, how do you advertise this film when literally half the cast has supposedly been dead? And if you show them, you are completely discrediting the entire premise of the film.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I think there's enough
I like to think that
alive
Marvel
though,
has
as a
enough
whole.
integrity not to show them, right? Because then it's like,
Yeah.
you're committing to the story you're telling. But I think they're going to show T'Challa. They're going to show...
Right? Like,
yeah, no, they're for sure going to show them. In what capacity, I don't know. But if they want to get people in the seats, they're going to show these characters.
right? Like, yeah. Oh, I love Spider-Man. And he died. And then you see a commercial and he's not in any of the commercials. Like, I don't know who really doesn't... I'm not going to see that movie.
I bet you one of the final trailers finally just is like, whatever. But I bet you none of the TV aired commercials, because those are all like 30-second stingers at best, or at most,
sure.
right? Will not have any of that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a curious thing. It was something I was thinking of for a while. Like, oh, that is like, it presents a weird situation that I can't think of.
I mean, hell, for the freaking commercial on TV, they just need to show like essentially the ending of Infinity War.
Yeah,
right?
They could.
And that will
be
get
the
people
trailer.
in the seats. Just be like, remember when this happened? See the resolution. It's just Kevin Feige. Just in front of a camera. Oh man, you guys remember the Snapocalypse?
This movie. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, well, Ant-Man will come and rise. The other thing too, kind of having to do with the quantum realm. So I guess they kind of explained it, but how does the quantum realm work?
Sean, the thing about the quantum realm is that it's really, 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 really fun to imagine taking a speed of light ride into the quantum realm with Ant-Man and the Wasp.
But like, is it really small? Just like, oh, we'll be in the quantum realm. It's like, she's probably going to be there. Like, that was the whole point. They're finding her coordinates, right? And they have to find her. But like, if it's really as minuscule as it is, it's like, okay, try to imagine finding someone in a city. It's impossible, right? Try to imagine finding someone now in a solar system. Impossible. Now trying to find someone in an entire galaxy. Impossible. That's basically what the quantum realm is. How did they find... Like, my point is like, oh, we're right there. How do you know that she wasn't in a molecule in another country? Or how does the quantum realm work? That's my question.
Well, I thought she had some sort of beacon, right? She said, like,
okay,
I'm
but sure,
giving you
but
an
they
antenna.
didn't go... Like, she just happened to be in the quantum realm in the molecule in Northern California?
Well, right, we don't know how the quantum realm
That's
works,
why
but they did previously establish that they're giving some sort of locator. So,
Yeah.
and Michelle Pfeiffer is now some sort of guru of the quantum realm, and probably
But
was able to locate him.
Yeah, okay, I guess my point is like, okay, she sends a beacon. What if they got that beacon and it was coming like, oh, shoot, it's coming 10 light years away. Well, we're screwed. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or is it, that we just take for like, oh, shit.
But you could literally apply that to any
I don't think, like, okay, space and time, right? I don't think it works the same way in the
That's my
quantum realm.
point. That's what I'm getting at.
I think it's...
Does
it's
it work
not
the
like,
same way?
It's like, we're currently in a home, and there's a home across the street. Those 2 points, as we understand them, are separated by something we call distance or space. Yeah. In the quantum realm, I don't think that's the case.
Okay, that's my point. Is that accurate? Is to say that distance really isn't a thing in the quantum realm? So that's how potentially on Titan, planet Titan, where Thanos is from, or where he escapes to, whatever planet he gets to at the end of... If you enter the quantum realm, you could somehow just be there.
Yeah.
Right? You're not actually traveling distance in the way we understand it.
There are water bears.
What?
There are water bears.
I don't know what that means.
You don't know what a water bear is?
Is it those little dust mite things?
Yeah, those things.
But those weren't the quantum realm. That was just when he was really tiny.
Yeah.
But they're water bears.
Okay.
They're apparently
Great.
indestructible.
Anyways, well, okay, sure. The quantum realm is just magic.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, it's a freaking comic book movie.
No, I know, but
Well,
I mean,
that's the whole
just
thing about this.
some semblance of like. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just like, all right, just explain it to me. I'm not saying I don't want it to be scientifically waterproof. I just explain it to me, and I'll take it for whatever it is.
Well, they don't explain what the hell the Soul Stone is at all.
Yeah, but we understand what it's supposed to do, and we understand how it works in the universe.
How do we?
We understand it as a black box.
Yeah,
and that's what's
and that's
important
fine.
in these kind of things. And
again, I'm not saying explain the quantum realm. I'm just saying like. How does it affect things? Basic cause effect is all.
Give me a one-liner from Hank Pym that said, "In the quantum realm, there's no such thing as distance." Yeah. All right, doesn't make sense, but sure, we'll go with that.
Exactly, that's all I want. They do say that with time. They even say at some point time functions differently. So it's like, okay, I get that. That's fine. That's why she's still seems pretty young, right? Despite
she looked about as old as Hank.
Yeah, but it's supposed to have been whatever. Anyway,
how dare
she's good for
Michelle Pfeiffer is timeless.
Also,
she's white gold.
Will Disney stop trying to de-age people? It just looks stupid.
I'm not a fan of that either, but it actually
wasn't
pretty
the worst.
good,
It wasn't the worst case of it. That's for
she
sure.
looked better.
I mean, definitely not the worst case, but it still looks stupid. It's still very obvious.
It is kind of weird. Like, why don't they just get another actor? I guess it's because it's like. Do you think it's because they're such prestigious actors getting to play these parts? Like, if it was just Joe old guy, they would get a younger guy playing him, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I haven't seen a movie with Michelle Pfeiffer in it for a long time. It was great to see her in it.
She was in something.
One thing I wanted more from the film was more of the old Ant-Man and Wasp. Like, they only showed that one scene with them attacking the rocket or whatever. I wanted a little more of them back in the past. Because to me, this film, I like that it was Ant-Man and the Wasp. To me, it was like, I guess that's Scott and whatever her face is. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of more about Hank and Michelle. I realize I'm crossing the actors' names with the characters' names, but you know what I mean? Like, I kind of wanted, because I thought that, like I said, the title of the film was named for both sets.
I thought it worked kind of.
But I wanted more of the other team so I could root for them reuniting a little bit more.
I could see that. It would have been cool to kind of see a little bit more of their kind of connection. I guess. I think they were focusing so much on the connection between her and Hope that maybe it would have been fun to kind of see more of the wife-husband kind of relationship.
Yeah. Another scene that I just remembered, which I guess speaks to it not being as great as I want to say it is, but it was, and it only works because of freaking Paul Rudd being a stupid goofball, was when she like possessed him or whatever.
Oh, that was such a great scene.
It was just all the facial things that Paul Rudd was doing.
Man.
Which only works because it's Paul Rudd, right?
He's
just able to be a goofball like that.
Yeah.
I will say that, like, for better and for worse, I think, like, when you're given put Paul Rudd into this kind of character, I feel, for me anyway, I feel like I would just overindulge and make it just like let Paul Rudd be hysterical the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's really good for this part, and I really like him, but he definitely is not like overdone, right? And sometimes I almost wish they went a little bit more with his like comedic kind of just like ridiculous kind of goofball-y stuff. But maybe it's best if they didn't, because maybe it would have been too indulgent, almost on that same level of like everything being too jokey. In some other
actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I had a similar comment in this film. It felt like it does fit in with the Marvel canon, right? Yeah. Whereas, if you remember some of the drama that happened in the first Ant-Man, I think in a different universe, it would have ended up being a very non-Marvel MCU movie, right? If Edgar Wright had kind of gotten his way. Which I think, in some ways, I was very much looking forward to. Yeah. And I'm still, in some respects, let down by the fact that never came to pass.
Well, I mean, you still see that DNA in the first movie. Yeah. It's very clear. It's got Edgar Wright's signature cuts, right?
Right. And I think a lot of the jokes that played very well in the first one that were probably his brainchild were taken and transferred into this film,
like the Michael Pena joke.
Exactly.
That is very clearly Edgar Wright.
Yeah, that specific that is one example. And so I feel like this film kind of took those elements that were probably the more extreme goofiness that you're kind of talking about from the first one, and then kind of made it work a little bit more smoothly.
Yeah, it kind of
more
rolled it out,
yeah.
evened it out a little bit more.
Exactly. And so, in some respects, I think I like this movie actually much more than the first because it felt like a more...
It did
smoothed
feel
out,
more in
film.
line with the rest of the films,
Right.
for sure. That's
But
true.
again, it kind of does remind me of a film we could have gotten.
Yeah. I think overall, I think I do like this one more than the first Ant-Man. I don't know. It's hard to say. I haven't seen the first one in a while, and I remember enjoying it, but it definitely was kind of, for me, in the middle ground of the MCU. I know a lot of people really love it. If Matt was here, apparently it's his favorite, even though we don't really think it actually
We don't
is.
believe that.
We don't believe it, but he really likes it. And I know a lot of other people, too.
I mean, I really like the first
I
one.
did too.
Yeah.
I did too.
But, okay, so actually while we were talking, I started thinking about this. I really don't think I like Scott's character. Because he has almost no character. His one driving force is his daughter.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's just, I do good because good.
Yeah, I would say it's not there's not a lot of depth there in terms of there's a little bit, it's good enough for kind of the film they're going with, right? And that's what I mean when I feel like the conflict and the kind of the weight of the film, what isn't there. Even if it's still supposed to be a fun film, I still maybe would have liked a little bit more of it. Because even if you go to Guardians of the Galaxy, like Peter Quill is a freaking goofball doofus, right? But that character has weight. There's a lot to that character, right? And he's flawed, and there's turmoil within him, and all this father, right? There's stuff there. My point being, and there's tiny bits of that with Scott, but I feel like they don't really dive into it as much when they could.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So one thing that they bring up in the first movie is that he's an engineer, right? He has a degree in engineering. Mm-hmm. And they kind of use that a little bit when he's tinkering with the suit and stuff like that. Literally none of that in this one. He might as well have had literally no brains.
In fact, they kind of intentionally paint him as an idiot, right? Mm-hmm. Which ends up being funny, but you're right. It really does kind of simplify and diminish his character. Well, not to say that you need to be an engineer to be valid or anything.
I mean, although that brings up an interesting point, which actually Lana, I remember she would remark and criticize, is to an extent, it's Scott himself is why is he Ant-Man? He's just a guy in a suit. Anyone could be Ant-Man. It's one thing, with Iron Man or whatever, he built that suit. And for at least a time, it was dependent on his core, his heart, whatever it is. Arc reactor. And the suit is tied to Tony Stark, right? No one else could be Iron Man.
Right.
Even though potentially someone could sit in the suit, he still wouldn't be Iron Man.
Right.
But with this, it's just
which is
pretty much throw on anyone.
But that's not the case anymore in the MCU, right? Anybody could be Iron Man.
Well, he has a million suits and stuff like that.
But so that's going back to the first movie, right? They emphasize the reason he's Ant-Man is because he was a really good thief.
Yeah.
And so they emphasize that in the first movie. Once again, literally no thieving is happening in this movie.
It felt very it was just we liked that character for the most part. You kind of touched on that. Maybe not as much as you might have thought, but you still like Scott. But it is he doesn't know martial arts. He's not a fighter. There's no real reason why, other than the only reason he's in this film. Well, not really, but plot-wise, the reason it's tied is because of his psychic connection to Janet or whatever, right? And I almost feel do you think they felt like they had to put that in because the audience would be why was Scott? I don't think the audience would have been sad enough to question it.
He already had a personal connection.
Yeah, we would have, so there are other connections there, but it was just kind of a curious thing that was the only real reason plot-wise he was in this film.
Right, and I kept thinking that, the movie ends up being a rat race, hot potato kind of a thing, and so I kept thinking it was going to get to the point where, it's going to turn into a heist, and they're going to have to plot this mastermind scheme that Scott's going to totally have the master plan.
No, we're just going to chase through the city and make a big mess.
And it almost felt Hope at that point was more kind of actually doing clever stuff.
Yeah.
Which was cool. I mean, that's all great. I
great.
almost feel I want to say that she outshone Ant-Man or anything like that, but I do feel like she had more to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know, I completely
which
agree.
is fine. That's totally cool. I mean, it is called Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it's just because I love Paul Rudd so much, and I just maybe wish for a little bit more. Also, it's kind of interesting. I think it's really cool. Evangeline Lilly, she's probably, if not 40, close to 40 by now, right? So it is really cool.
Oh.
Right, that's a cliche in Hollywood. It's like a woman over 30 can't find work in Hollywood. Not only is she over that, but she's still like played as the very attractive, kind of thing. But she's a main character superhero action like star. Like, so I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool. Oh, also, and I like that the actress who played Ghost, I don't know her name.
I don't know who
but her teeth were kind of weird.
Oh, I don't know if I noticed that. Her accent was very...
Yeah, her accent was weird. But I just noticed it anytime because it's so easy. Like, now, like, if you watch films, like, everyone has perfect teeth all the time.
Yeah.
If aliens watched films from Earth, they would just assume everyone had perfect teeth. So it's actually, when someone doesn't have perfect teeth in a movie, it stands out to me. I'm like, oh, they didn't just go spend $1 million to fix this actress's teeth. They just have her actual teeth.
But maybe aliens don't even know what teeth are, Sean.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they think they have weird white plates in our holes in our face.
So you think back to another one of Ant-Man's powers, through the suit, of course, is his ability to kind of communicate with ants. But even Scott wasn't even really doing that. He was doing it on the simplest level, right? He was doing it in the same way he did in the first one. It was like his ride, right?
Yeah.
There's that whole scene where he's trying to call him at the freaking pier and the seagulls keep eating him.
Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, Antonio.
Yeah.
But Hank Pym, on the other hand, was using them for everything, right?
Yeah.
He was actually showing the use of his powers.
And I'm not familiar with the comics. So, and this is not an issue, but something I had about the first one. Is that from the comics? That they could actually control ants? Because it seems so, like, cartoony. Like, obviously, it's a comic book, but...
One thing about Ant-Man, the whole thing is this very cartoonish. Like, if you actually, like, watch a single one action scene, you're like, is that really how this works? Right? Like, that's why this movie is turn off your brain, nothing makes sense. Why does a car that's, a hundredth of the size of its original form drive just as fast? Does it bear the same weight? Wouldn't it just sink through the ground?
Well, they kind of talk. I know in the comics they go more into that, and they talk about. And in the first one,
in the first movie they do. They say that even though you're shifting size, you're carrying the same mass.
Yeah,
yeah, but that means you'd be super heavy.
Yeah,
and right. Also, when you grow, you would take as much damage as the thing that you smashed into. It's just that's how physics works. So it's basically if you stop and watch a single action scene, none of the physics makes sense. Don't worry about that. Just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I would say that probably that's true with all. I think the reason why we maybe notice it more with this is because it kind of draws attention to the physics of it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, when they're fighting aliens on planet Titan with giant fists and no gravity, like, we don't care because we're not really thinking about it. To us, it's so far removed from reality. But when it's, like, shrinking and our brain starts thinking about it more than we probably should, or we would in other superpower situations.
I hated that Iron Man was more effective against Thanos than anybody. I hate that so much.
Well, but it's because he's Tony Stark. That's my point.
I don't care.
Well, who knows? Now Ant-Man can save the day. You can be happy. It's close.
No,
to
I wanted Hank Pym to save.
It's close enough. Hank Pym suit.
Hank Pym suit. I did watch.
But Hank Pym did save the day plenty of times throughout the film.
Oh, that's all Hank Pym does, because Hank Pym's a boss.
Okay, that's enough out of you.
Hank Pym's the best.
Why do you like Hank Pym so much?
You want to know why I actually like Hank Pym so much?
I just asked that.
You really want to know. You want to know. It's actually because his beliefs actually line up pretty closely with Vash's beliefs.
Wait, and episode. That's Chris.
Thanks for turning there.
Well, no.
And that's why Chris likes Hank Pym.
Like, especially if you go back to, like, the comics, I like that he's a pacifist. Like, Hank Pym is actually a pacifist.
Wait, did you say pacifist or fascist?
Pacifist.
Did you hear fascist as well?
No, well, he already said bash, so I know you meant pacifist. But
I heard you say fascist. No. I heard you say his beliefs line up with fascist belief.
No.
Oh, it's just because it's racist, Chris. I should cut that out.
Never mind. Anyways, okay, so he's a pacifist.
He's a pacifist, and he wants to rehabilitate villains. Like, that's what he believes in the good of people, and he's like, I want to find a way to help these people that have done wrong do better, which is actually kind of what he sees in Scott, right? He sees somebody who could be better.
Yeah.
And it's something that actually in the comics, because he's like, he doesn't like fighting per se a lot of times and stuff like that. He does it to protect those around him, but it's not something he derives joy from. Like, if you ever watch, like, I think they did this really well in that Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon, which I highly recommend. It's really good. It's just like his obsession, like his obsession of being a pacifist, coupled with the fact that he's constantly having to going against that, actually drives him insane to the point where he becomes more of a vigilante. That kind of his mind breaks, and he's just like, "Screw it, I'm over it. I'm just gonna."
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely very compelling. I mean, you have those compelling, like, character, like,
but that's why I like
Hank
Pym so much, and that's why I want them to do things
fine.
with him in the movies.
Well, great. I mean, sure, Michael Douglas is good. Maybe they will use him more. I mean, he's dust right now, but...
We're all dust in the wind.
Also, did your audience, like, go berserk when they cut to them turning into, like, as dust?
But it was
my entire audience was just like, ah!
But
no! Like,
it was so expected at that time.
They knew that was going to happen.
It was just so funny, the reaction. Like, everyone was like, oh, but Scott's gonna be stuck now.
But it's funny because those are that's exactly to play the cynical, film snobs. But that's exactly what the CEOs and producers are like, oh, the people in the audience are going to eat this up and go crazy.
But that's also why I love watching a movie in an audience, because it's just like, because of those reactions.
Actually, it was hilarious. So when I was watching Skyscraper last night, like, that movie is exactly what you think it's going to be. Exactly what you think it's going to be. For better or for worse, it's exactly what you think it's going to be.
So and Die Hard minus one leg?
It's Die Hard on fire. Die Hard on fire, and he sometimes has some funny leg things.
Those funny one-legged
But
things.
there are so many, like, just shots of The Rock, rippling heroic, or, like, kind of one-liners and stuff, and the audience was, like, laughing at him. Because the audience, like... They're almost metaing themselves. Like, it's now, the audience is so, like, they're so aware, they're making their own jokes. It's just the movie. It's just the movie. This is not,
right.
But they are, like, they're just so aware of everything that when you show a heroic shot now, it's a comedic shot. Because it is.
But
so
I enjoy that. That's like, yes. It
was entertaining. I can't say it was entertaining. It was exactly what it was. And Neve Campbell's in it. Speaking of someone who hasn't been in films for a while. Neve Campbell's in that movie. So she's working again. Anyways. Skyscraper.
Oh, man.
But Ant-Man. Does anyone else have any final thoughts on Ant-Man? I think we got more out of this than I was expecting, actually.
Yeah.
I like the actor Goggins. I still feel like his character was kind of... I felt just like,
he's good. He was in quite a few things that I've enjoyed. Yeah. And he's been good in... Yeah, I would say I definitely enjoyed it quite a bit, actually, during the time, but as days have passed, I've kind of... not liking it any less, but just, I don't know, I feel like I'm going to forget about it in a year.
I like it, I think, more than the original, but I still feel, to me, it's kind of right in the middle. It definitely is not bad. It's not bad by any means. It's enjoyable, it's fun, but it just doesn't, like you said, leave any more of an impact, and ultimately it felt a little, weightless.
I watched Thor Ragnarok on Netflix just yesterday, and you were talking earlier about, in Infinity War when he comes flying in, right? And it gives you goosebumps. You're just like, oh man, things are going down now, right? Like, the freaking God is here.
Yeah.
Can you imagine any other character in this MCU giving you goosebumps like that? Like, it's funny because if you think about, like, Iron Man, or not Iron Man, but Thor 1 and Thor 2.
How far that character's come.
But not, because I was also thinking there's another goosebump moment, which happens at the end of Thor 3, right? Thor Ragnarok, where, Hela is like, what were you the god of again? And then he just, like, explodes, right?
Like that moment on the bridge, and they're having, for sure.
And that gives you goosebumps, too. So that's 2 Thor goosebumps I've gotten. I don't think anybody else is really... The closest, I think, and it didn't actually give me goosebumps, but I think the closest I've gotten would be the end of the first Guardians, where they're like in the purple mist, right? And he's
we're
the Guardians of the...
Right? That's what I mean. Those moments of just catharsis and just like... When you are imagining films of these characters, whether you've read the comics or just kind of slightly aware of them, you make up these stories in your mind, and you make up these emotional impacts they're going to have on you. And when they nail it, it's like nothing else, right? And those are the moments. And that's what I mean is like.
But can you ever see Paul Rudd's Ant-Man doing that to you?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they can, but I don't know what it is. Maybe that's part of it. Is maybe I'm not quite sure what that would be. So maybe that's part of the difficulty of it.
It should be too terribly hard because I think we all genuinely enjoy Paul Rudd, like you were saying, right? And I think we're already emotionally connected to his character and his daughter, right? So we are already tied and invested into him and Hank Pym and Hope. I think these characters, we actually all really like them. Maybe just for their actors, who knows? But I think it wouldn't take too much for them to hit a home run in terms of constructing a story, letting
I do think that if they do a third one, well, they're going to do a third one because it's movies and money. But that I do feel like at this point I would hope that they could kind of because I think we were talking to Aaron as well, and he mentioned specifically that in both films, but this one I think is very a street level superhero. Ant-Man has been. I feel like they kind of can now elevate him. I feel. With the third film, a third standalone. However he plays into Infinity War, that's fine. That'll be great, sure. But in terms of the next Ant-Man film and Wasp or whatever that plays in, like I feel like they could escalate it. And I think as an audience, we're tied to him emotionally enough that we'll be okay with it being more significant. Anyways. Cool. All right. Well, that was Ant-Man and the Wasp. All of our thoughts. Nothing left out. But let us know what you think. Leave some comments down below in our videos or wherever you can leave comments where you listen to our podcasts. And by you, I'm talking to you, Mom and Dad.
I was just thinking of that scene when they were captured. Yeah. And just, once again, just stupid Ant-Man jokes. When his daughter was calling, it was like... She didn't call me unless it was an emergency. Come on, have a heart. This is something.
I like that too. That was
where are my shoes? I'm sorry, guys. I thought it was an emergency. Let's continue with the thing.
Anyways, yes, all good stuff. But be sure to listen to us or follow us on the Facebooks, on the RS feed, on the iTunes, on the Google Play, Are we on Spotify yet, Chris?
Nope.
You failed me again.
I haven't been to our Gmail in a while.
Okay. I don't think... last I checked, there was no emails, but you can email us. YumChunks@gmail.com. And email Spotify. Send complaint letters to Spotify why they have not allowed us on their service yet.
And why, after the dozens of emails I've sent them, have they not replied once?
Get on that, community. But until then... tune in next time. We'll probably be talking about Comic-Con. That's coming up. That should be a lot of fun. And maybe some other stuff for the rest of the summer. The summer big movies are kind of dying out, so we'll find other things to talk about, though.
That new Conjuring movie's coming out.
What? They're making another one of those?
Well, first of all, I knew they are in fact making a Conjuring 3 at some point, but that's not what I'm talking about.
It's another spin-off?
Another spin-off.
Is it a spin-off of the sequel of the spin-off of the doll movie?
It's called The Nun.
Yeah.
It's based off that nun character.
Is it really?
Conjuring 2, so it's a spin-off of a spin-off or whatever.
Okay.
Which Conjuring 2 was
because we also make an Annabelle.
Another spin-off.
Well, because they made an Annabelle, which is a spin-off, and then they made a prequel to the Annabelle.
Yeah, they did.
But the prequel was actually supposedly good. I never saw it.
I didn't watch either.
It was actually supposed to be good.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then not only are they making The Nun, but another spin-off from the Conjuring 2 movie is they're doing...
that guy driving the car in the background of that shot?
Yeah. No, you remember like that weird,
Babadook?
Basically the Babadook.
The Crooked Man?
Yeah, Crooked Man. But he's getting his own movie, too.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
What powers does he have?
If you've seen Conjuring 2, that doesn't make sense.
No, I know what you're thinking, because it's the same damn thing.
Right, but spoilers for... this is not a Conjuring 2 review, so we can't do spoilers.
I have not seen Conjuring 2, so
don't
you dare spoil it.
Conjuring 2 was actually a pretty freaking good movie.
I heard it was really good.
It was a solid sequel, but definitely not better than the first.
I really like the first one a lot, but
probably not.
I'll watch it sometime. But
it was not Insidious 2.
No, it was not.
Which is one of the best horror movies ever made.
I still have never seen Insidious 3.
Wait, did I see it? No, I heard it was garbage.
I didn't watch Insidious 4.
Well, then they made Insidious 4, but I heard that wasn't very good. Yeah.
Wait, they made Insidious 4?
Yeah.
It's called The Last Key.
Oh, that's right. I saw Insidious 3 and that was garbage.
We've totally gone off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, want to hear us talk about random tangents of horror movies? Tune in next time. I'm sure we'll have more tangents to talk about. But thanks again for listening, everyone, and thanks for staying after the credits. Until next time.
Bye!
That's why we're called after
Goodbye.
the credits. Because, look at, we were crediting, and then we had our post-credit talk about
So we're after our own credits? Yeah.
Maybe we're just really disorganized.